Hello and welcome to this March 10th, 2010 video version of Invested Central's Chart of the Day. I'm Tom Boley, Invested Central's Chief Market Strategist, and it's my pleasure to provide you with today's Chart of the Day. This Chart of the Day is brought to you by StockCharts.com, simply the web's best financial charts. Today we are featuring MAC Macerich Company. This is a $10.6 billion basic materials company, mostly in the energy sector. When we take a look at this chart here, you can see a couple of things. Number one, take a look when we broke out back in early August over the prior June high. Notice on this move up here, we had some very excellent volume, confirming type volume on this move up. Notice then after putting in this top in September, we went sideways for a few months. Finally, we broke out above that previous high, and we did so with, again, confirming volume, did about 6.5 million shares that day. Then after pulling back for a month or so, we started making this push again to the upside, and on Friday of last week, we noticed another breakout on MAC. The problem this time was the breakout occurred with less than 2.5 million shares. You have to realize over the last 90 days, this company has traded on average over 2.9 million shares a day. So this was not even average volume on this breakout. So that was warning sign number one. Also, if you it's not shown here, but if you look at a 60-minute chart, an intraday chart, you'll see that MAC over the last couple of days in moving higher was starting to do so with a divergence that was starting to turn down. So as new highs were being reached on the 60-minute chart, we were seeing lower MACDs. So that 60-minute negative divergence is suggesting to us that some of the short-term bullishness in MAC may be waning here. And then throw in for good measure some very overbought conditions in the near term. We have both of our momentum oscillators, both the RSI, which is at 74, and Stochastics at 93, both overbought and have been overbought here for the last few days, in the case of Stochastics for the last few weeks. So both of those could also use a little bit of a pullback. Now over the last few weeks, we've been concentrating primarily on long candidates. This is the first short candidate that we've taken a look at here in a while, or certainly we haven't looked at many recently. And the reason that we're looking at one today is intraday today, on Tuesday, we saw some equity-only put-call ratios on a standalone basis, looking at each half hour. We saw some ratios that we haven't seen in a long time. There were a couple of readings that were down around 0.25. And again, this is on a standalone basis. It's not the cumulative readings that you see. I think the cumulative on Tuesday of the equity-only put-call ratio came in at about 0.43 or 0.44. But on some individual half-hour readings, there were a couple of them in the 0.2s. I think the lowest was 0.25. We haven't seen those kinds of readings in a long time, and that is suggesting that the market is starting to get very complacent, almost as though it expects that the market's just going to keep going higher. And when the market starts to get into this type of an environment and these types of feelings among individual traders, that is generally when you have to start looking for tops in the market. So we believe that we're probably on the verge of putting in a significant short-term top. Whether that went in on Tuesday or whether it goes in here over the next couple of days remains to be seen. But that type of optimism and complacency in the options world does suggest that we're probably getting closer to a top than not. So that's the reason for taking a look at some of these stocks now more on a short basis, and we may have some additional ones in the next few days if conditions continue the way they are presently. I hope you've enjoyed our presentation today. Be sure to check out our chart of the day every day at InvestedCentral.com. While you're there, sign up for our free weekly Market Pulse newsletter and have the chart of the day emailed directly to you. Happy trading.